Hey everyone, and welcome back for another Brutus Monroe video. Today we are focusing on the stencil of the month for August, and this is what it looks like. Super cool. And we are going to be using this stamp set. This is the Super Sentimental stamp set. And then we also have the Falliday silhouettes. Love this one. And then we're also going to be using a couple of slimline products. These are new, the panels and the bases. It's great because that way you don't have to cut down panels or bases. They come pre-done for you. And then we're also going to be using the Banana Split Velveteen Glaze. Alright, so let's get started with the card. I have one of the pre-cut panels and I'm going to do a little bit of ink blending on it using some Slippery When Wet along with the Pink and Main Ergonomic brush. I'm just kind of getting the edges, trying to be darker just on the edges, and I'm not going to go into the center because I'm going to do the slimline, or not the slimline, the regular stencil through the middle of this slimline. So you can use your regular size stencils on your slimline cards. You don't have to just stick to, using them on regular size cards. I do want to use a little bit of pixie spray on my stencil. I'm going to put this at an angle. I'm putting it down onto my Wendy Vecchi craft station. And then I'm going to use a palette knife to grab out some of that banana split velveteen glaze. And I am going to try to put this on fairly thin, but with a product like this that is fluid, that's why I use the pixie spray. It's not a super delicate stencil, but it definitely has some thin lines, and I didn't want this product to be squishing underneath the stencil. So now I'll just try and pick up the excess and put that back into the jar, and then make sure that I close up that jar pretty tightly so that nothing dries out. And then I'll remove my stencil and go clean everything off, but this is what we have, and I love that through the center. So all right, now that everything is cleaned off, we just have a piece of cardstock that I have cut down to 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches, and I'm going to take all the fall leaves that came in the Falliday silhouettes, and we're going to put that onto this panel. I'm going to end up using 2 panels like this, but I'll pick that up, and then I'm going to ink this up with that Slippery When Wet. That is the first color that I'm using. I'm going to do some rock and roll. So if you are new to stamping, you've probably not heard of this. If you aren't new to stamping, this might be something that you've already heard of. And if not, or maybe, it's an older technique, here's a refresher, and maybe it'll get you inspired to come on out and try it again. So here's a mistake I made. I cleaned all this off, and then I peeled up my stamp. And I knew I screwed that up. So I'm going to try my best to reposition that. And I actually do pretty well. But yeah, don't do what Cassie did. Make sure you keep your stamp there, because for this next part, you're going to want to leave them there, and you're just inking up the edges. So this next color is Traffic Cone by Hurley. And I'm inking up the edges, just the edges. And don't worry about harsh lines. You can either use a dry baby wipe or one of your towels or whatnot to kind of just soften up the edges, which is what I did. And then stamp it down. And I think that looks pretty cool. So then I'll pull in the next panel and we'll do the exact same process, just working on those edges. The microfiber cloth does a really good job of softening the edges if you just kind of pounce it. You don't have to obviously wipe it all off, just pounce. And you'll be left with, a pretty natural sort of look. But then we'll just stamp that down again. Some of my edges are a little bit harsh, but I actually don't mind. All right, and then we're going to clean it off one more time, and we're going to grab another color, and this color is the Game Over color. It is perfect for this color combination. It looks definitely very fall. So we're just doing the edges here once again, and then we'll stamp that down, and I am in love with how this looks. So then, of course, we'll do it on the final panel as well, just inking up those edges and do the same thing. So yeah, and now that that's all done, which this one looks pretty cool too, we will definitely clean off all of our stamps, and now we can remove them because we want to grab the veins for the leaves and we want to put those down. You could probably go without if you didn't want to, but I think that adding the veins really just adds to. Two-step stamping is so much fun because then you can really add a lot of color. So I'll close the door of the Misti, and I'm going to grab my Grrr ink by Hurley, and I will ink these up twice. Because I want it to be nice and dark. So I'll stamp that down, ink it up one more time, and then I'll do that for the other one as well. And then once I'm done, I'm going to actually fussy cut all of those leaves out. I know some of you are cringing. My Velveteen Glaze wasn't quite dry yet, so I have my heat gun on the lowest setting, and I'm keeping it moving, and I'm just going to keep drying that. And I can watch it in the light. It goes from a very shiny product to a matte finish. That is another difference between the Velveteen Glaze and the Chroma Glaze. Chroma Glaze dries very shiny, but the Velveteen Glaze dries like a matte finish. I do want to add a little bit of color to those edges, so I have grabbed my mini Ergonomic brush, and I am just lightly inking on some traffic cone. We're going to do the same color combo that we did for the leaves, but this is just going to be a lot more subtle because I'm using the smaller brush. And so then we'll grab the game over, and I didn't clean off my brush in between because we sort of stayed in the same, well, not really stayed in the same color family, but we went from orange to red, so I wasn't worried about contamination. And when I'm happy with that, then we can clean off our brush and clean up our mess. All right, now I need to stamp my sentiment. As you can tell, I already stamped it, but I stamped it on with a block, and I want it to be a little darker, so I'm stamping it once, stamping it twice, and it will definitely deepen up. And then I'm going to trim that out using my guillotine trimmer. And now I'll get my base ready. These bases, the pre-cut bases, are cut to 7 inches by 8.5 inches, and so you're just going to score them at 3.5 inches, perfect for that. And then I am going to add the 2 extra leaves on the inside because you know me, got to do something on the inside, right? And so I wasn't sure if I wanted it corner to corner or just in this lower corner. I ended up deciding just this lower corner. So I'll use my liquid glue to adhere these down. And it's kind of fun that they're overlapping, but I'm telling you, one of the things I love about those Simon Hurley inks is the way they overlap. They almost change colors completely. I will add some Brutus Monroe foam tape behind all of my images and my sentiment, and then I will peel off the release paper and start putting those down. So while I do like the harsh line of where the stencil stops and starts, and you could absolutely keep it that way, I think it's kind of fun to add these leaves. It covers up the harsh line if it's not something that you like. So I'll just add the 3 leaves to the top and 3 leaves to the bottom, and I'll have the middle one will be the one that'll, I'm kind of trying to finagle that and see how I want that to be. And I end up kind of propping it underneath one of the leaves. But I love having a little bit of added dimension. It's just nice to have a little something like that. All right, then we'll do the exact same thing pretty much with the bottom leaves. Peeling off that release paper and sticking those down. And then this one I'll just have to use a little bit of liquid glue because it definitely overlaps one of those pretty well. And then we'll tack down our sentiment as well. And I'm going to use my T-ruler because I want to make sure I put that on straight. But I feel like this isn't done. You know what I mean? It's not, it needs more. So I will attach this to my card base because it's all ready to go there, just using that same liquid glue. But I decide that I need some splatter on this. And what better to grab than the brass Aqua pigment. So I've got this in my splatter box. Here's my brass Aqua pigment. I'm going to cover up my sentiment because I don't want that to get too splattered. But this ends up being like the perfect color to splatter over the top of this fall card. So I'm just splattering with a dry brush. I do get a big old blob on one of the leaves, but I don't mind. It's okay. I'm going to kind of wipe that up just a little bit, but to be honest, it really doesn't bother me because that's kind of the fun of splatter, is it is going to look a little bit messy. But I feel like that just really ties everything together. And so now that that is done, that's actually going to finish off our card. And I am so happy with how that turned out. I love the stencil in the background. It's just beautiful. It adds so much texture. And yeah, so if you liked this video, please hit the like button and please subscribe if you have not already done so. And as always, I will see you very soon in another video. Bye, everybody.